Did you know that you can design professional book covers using just an iPad and an Apple Pencil? No expensive software, looking at you Adobe, no subscription models. Affinity Photo is the software that I use, and Procreate for doing concepts in, and that's it. I'm starting this channel to give tips and advice and help where I can on just using the iPad as your primary device for designing covers. Hi, my name's Shane Edmonston. If you're new here, so am I. This is a brand new channel, so we've got that in common straight away. I'm a cover designer and illustrator and a graphic designer with about 20 years, over 20 years experience now as a graphic designer, and probably coming up to sort of 5 or 6 years now as a book cover designer. And I've been an illustrator since I was a kid, really. You know, I grew up on a diet of 2000 AD comics, you know, Judge Dredd, Slain, and all the usual sort of suspects. And art and illustration has just been with me, like I say, since I was a kid, and it's been my passion ever since. To be able to combine that passion with, you know, designing professional book covers for indie authors is a dream, really. And you know, I used to lug around my MacBook and my iPad and use the two in tandem, but now the way things are going, you know, it's just the iPad's getting so good, and with the dawn of iPad OS 26 in September, it's just going to get better. So yeah, it's just going to be a bit of a dream to be able to design on the iPad and just have that one device that you can take around. You know, I work in my cabin a lot. This is where I am. This is my studio at the end of the garden, and I work sort of 90% of the time down here. But it's nice to go to a coffee shop and just rock up, and you know, you don't want to be lugging 2 devices around with you. So it's always been my goal to just take this. I've got an M4 iPad Pro, by the way. It's got this moffed cover on it, which is super funky, and you know, I haven't worked out half of what it does yet, but it, you know, it's brilliant. I'll do a video on that sometime and how it all sort of comes together. But yeah, to just be able to rock up to a coffee shop just with the one device and get cracking, and having everything you need, excuse me, in there is a game changer, really. And I love it for that fact. So I'm starting this channel with the aim of helping budding designers, or even, you know, veteran old school designers that have been doing it for a while, and just going to share some advice and tips and things that I've learned along the way to hopefully help you hone your skills on the iPad using Affinity Photo. You know, you may have other software that you want to use, but like I say, for me, it's primarily I'll start off in Procreate, and I'll do some concepts in there which will then go to the author to approve or not, and we'll tweak, and then from there I'll do all the big stuff in Affinity Photo. So as I was saying, I use the iPad M4 chip. It's a 13-inch iPad, and the Apple Pencil. Everything I need to create print ready covers is right here. So 3 quick get my words out, 3 quick tips I'd like to give for anybody sort of just starting out, really, a beginner in cover design, is number 1, design for the genre, you know, not for your ego. Really, you know, your cover needs to speak the visual language that your audience expects. So for instance, if you're designing a cozy romance, you certainly wouldn't want to be using horror fonts, obviously, on that cover. And that leads me into point 2, which is typography is half the battle. A stunning illustration with bad type is still going to look terrible, or amateur at best. So take some time learning layouts and how fonts work. You might be an amazing illustrator, but yeah, you need to get into typography. Tip number 3 would be, I suppose, start simple, finish strong. So don't throw everything at the page all at once. You know, sketch in Procreate or whatever app you use, but keep it simple, you know, and start to build it up from there. Some of the best covers look effortless because they're so carefully planned. I'm going to be sharing regular tips and walkthroughs and honest advice on designing covers, working with authors. That's a big one. You know, not everybody you get to work with, not every client, every author can be easy to work with, you know. I've been very lucky. You know, most of the authors I've worked with are just, they're brilliant. They're a dream to work with. And they trust you, they trust the skills that you've got. They trust you to do the research and, you know, to know their genre and to really find out about it and make sure that you're aiming their cover so that it sits within their chosen genre. Communication is key. You know, you've just got to be open and honest and communicate about what you're doing keep them in the loop. So this channel will be about building a creative career, all from the iPad. So if that sounds like your cup of tea, hit subscribe, or just, you know, give us a like. But more importantly, really drop something in the comments. I'd love to know what it is you might want to get from this. Drop something in the comments, because I'd love to steer this channel towards what it is that you would like to learn. You know, what do you need to know about? Is there anything that's sort of causing a particular problem for you when it comes to designing book covers, or any kind of, you know, I don't only do book covers, I've done posters and stuff as well, and all kinds of things, you know, in my many years. But this channel is probably going to be focused on cover design. So yeah, that's a super quick intro as to how I work, maybe a few tips hopefully to help you get started. I'll be posting regular videos on book cover design on the iPad, specifically working with clients, mastering your tools and building a design career just using the iPad. Got a question about tools or technique? Drop it in the comments. I'd love to hear what you're working on. That's it for now. Take care.